Welcome back to Beery Good Entertainment, everybody. We are here with episode 67. This is our politics and controversy episode. And we've got an interesting topic for today, one that I did not come up with. Lola, tell us about our topic today.
Okay, we're going to talk about those times when you're reading a book and you come across a word or even an action or a mind frame that you don't like at all. You're like, get that word out of your mouth. I do not want to hear it, see it, whatever. But you may stop and ask yourself, well, what's the context of this? Does this fit the character? Is it warranted? And how do you reconcile that? Do you forgive it? Do you just move on, keep reading? Or do you say, no, I'm never going to read this again. This is horrible.
I kind of expanded it just a little, not to include just a word, but like themes that like we just can't, maybe we just can't get over.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's fine too.
Yeah. But first, I think I'm going to open a beer because it's been a very, very long week. I'm sure for the both of us.
I bet.
The hurricane and apartment hunting and life. And we went from Corvallis and drove all the way up to Astoria, right near the Oregon border with Washington.
Uh-huh.
Where I found an absolutely one of the most glorious porters I've ever had in my entire life. So I thought I'd bring it on the show.
Okay.
This is Astoria Brewing's Poop Deck Porter.
Well, that's interesting. Okay.
This is the most porter I've ever actually tasted. It is super dark.
Nice.
And this sucker has the roastiest roast. Like I expect,
Ooh.
I know everybody hears me say it. I expect a porter to be roasty.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
This porter, it's got tons of roast, tons of chocolate, malts, and hitting on the nuttiness. It's a little dry.
That sounds wonderful.
Smells.
It
gross.
Looks good. Oh gosh.
Slightly thick. The roast comes at you like right away. And
Wonderful.
It's thick enough to feel satisfying, like it slightly coats your tongue.
Uh-huh. I love that.
Thick
That
as a
sounds
stout.
really good. Well,
Stout be worth it coming out of Astoria.
That's perfect. And sometimes you don't want a heavy stout.
This is 6%.
Fair.
It's beautiful.
I'm not used to seeing porters in cans. Generally, you don't. You don't see. I like it that they're doing that.
I like this of eco-responsibility that through that is now coming through the brewing. It is more difficult to actually recycle glass, plastic. California, I know you may pay your deposit, all the deposit back.
Oh, okay. Well, we don't even do that. We don't get paid for recycling. I mean, at least, yeah.
Do you get charged a deposit fee?
No, we just plain recycle. I mean, no, we don't get charged anything. That happens. We don't get any of that.
We get charged 10 cents. We get charged 10 cents a container for glass, plastic, and aluminum. But you take it back and you get that 10 cents per can back in your hand.
Okay, that's good. We don't get any of that. You notice when you see on the side, it'll usually say these states that do that. Florida's never on there. We don't. But I recycle. We've got a bin that we put out every 2 weeks to pick up recycling. And I'm always slapping, because he'll put like half wrappers in there and things that don't belong in there. And I told them I read before that if you put one thing in a batch of recycling that's not correct, they'll throw the whole thing out. I read that before.
Sadly, plastic is not getting recycled anymore because China is no longer.
Oh.
Actually, as the United States, very few, if any, plastic recycling anymore.
Oh.
Oregon, our recycling has been shaved down year over year over year.
Oh.
A few types of cardboard, only a few types of plastic. Tin and aluminum are always recyclable.
Okay.
A little ridiculous. I think we need to either plants, trade war crap, and just send them decent plastic to recycle.
We need to give up the trade war. That never helped anybody. The trade war never helps anyone. It only hurts people. Just look at Star Wars. Huh?
I'm having a about my sound settings, but without an actual telling me what's wrong with my sound. I don't know.
It's missing half your sentences. You need to go in and change the sensitivity. Might have been reset in Discord or something.
In Discord. Things. Input sensitivity is all the way down. Should I just switch to my headset mic? Stereo microphone.
Okay.
This mic or it's cutting out?
Oh.
Well, we'll keep going. If there's another problem, let me know, and I can always fix it. Not me. Do you have any beers today?
Yes. And I've got the special beer I got from Intuition Brewery when I went 2 weeks ago, and I've been waiting to open this up for this show because the other show we do, they never take time for beer, and it'd just be wasted on everybody. So actually a collaboration with another brewery in Jacksonville called Aardwolf. Let's see, I hope y'all can see this. You can tell the Stranger Things motif.
Yeah, Stranger. I was just about to say that looks like Stranger Things font.
Hopefully, no one from that show notices and decides to say something.
And you said it was a collaboration with Aardvark.
Aardwolf, Aardwolf, Aardwolf is Intuition Brewery, and it's under Bird. That's what they call it. And she said it's something like aged in Aardwolf's casks or something like that. Thing is, I had a hard time deciding what beer I wanted. A lot of the beers were casked, which I used to be able to drink just fine, but the last year or so, they tend to be too strong for me. So, and I was like, let me go for something it's aged in other beer cask, and I'm like, well, I shouldn't have a problem with that. So
Hear the hit.
I like it. Yep, I'm excited. It was $20, but for a specialty brew, that's understandable. I was okay with it. I just wanted to make sure I chose well because I was spending $20. Oh, that looks nice. And I can't quite remember what style. It looks like a porter, but I'm not entirely sure. I may have to look that up after the fact. Looks very nice, very dark, virtually no head. That's okay. Really? I don't get much smell. I don't even get like a malty smell. Okay, very malty taste though. Extremely malty. Yeah. It actually
Untapped says it's an American Imperial Stout.
okay, stout.
Find it on Intuitions.
Maybe because it's a specialty. I'll look for it too. But yeah, I would have thought actually more porter because it doesn't feel very heavy. It's not. I mean, it's full bodied, but it's not, as stouty as most stouts. Definitely, it almost tastes like it is aged in a bourbon type cask because it's very strong, but not an overpowering.
Imperial that. Well, you're.
That's probably it. Because it's punchy, but not in a heavy way. I like that it's not heavy, it's punchy. Imperial coming through. Because it's definitely almost spicy. And that may be the Imperial. It tastes almost spicy. I like it.
Fan.
Okay. Okay. What kind of request?
A lot of computers, and the window fan is right there. So
okay. Did they want you to turn it off because of sound?
No, on.
Because of heat?
Too hot.
Yeah, well, with all the computers. What has the temperature been like up there?
It's weird. It's we've had our fall springs and fall summers, and it's 68, 67,
Ooh.
68 today.
That's nice.
I think this is our false fall.
Oh, you get a false start?
Normally, it's been like 70s, nice 80s.
That sounds nice.
And today it really dipped down, cloud cover, things like that. But I highly suspect that tomorrow we'll be back up there again.
Okay. Here, it'll be hot until probably into November. Works here.
I am relieved that you guys didn't get hit harder than you got hit with Dorian.
It went more out to sea because it was gonna like skirt us, like really like sidled right on up to next, but it went out a little bit. But poor people in North Carolina, Twitter friends, she's such a nice. I actually have her list on Scannerdrum's Twitter called "People Who Are Really Nice," and she's the only person in it to put in it. But I made the list for her. She's so nice. On the Outer Banks, she actually manages some hotels out there. Hurricane, her and her husband holed up in one of the hotels. From her, the power went out. They hadn't flooded, but Barrier Islands, Outer Banks, bad. I saw some video. You saw someone's head, and then another video you saw an entire head was floating by. Batch of trees, like a huge batch of trees was floating by.
I saw that. That's actually not incredibly unusual. It happens when the root mass of all the shrubs and the trees grows together.
That.
But like it doesn't depend on the soil. It'll float until it hits. Yeah, it'll float until it hits somewhere. It'll land, and then it'll just keep growing as long as they leave it there. It'll be happy.
Like that, it makes sense. It makes sense, but it's just weird. I've never seen like ground. Pinned it to the ground. We're not used to the pit of the ground, and I'm like, next trees in this new modern world, damn millennials and their trees that float. Of it float into again. It's just
darn those
crazy,
people with their darn those people with their vegetarian hamburgers, which I enjoy thoroughly.
vegan, whatnot. I want to try those new vegetarian.
Oh,
Or talk about what to eat. We need to get that.
we had the Beyond Meat sausages yesterday, and you cannot tell them from regular Italian sausages. They're so delicious.
What do you make them out of? Do you know? Stuff or soy?
A lot of them are made out of pea protein. There is soy protein in some of them. I believe the Impossible burgers that are now available at all Burger Kings, and those are fantastic too, are made out of pea protein as well.
You know, I want to get away from meat. I was vegetarian when I was in high school, but in high school and went to college and had several lots of times where I had no food. Choice was either starve or eat what people gave me.
Yeah.
But one day I'd like to go back.
I'm not sure I want to be a vegan.
Burger.
I'm not sure I want to be a vegan. But, cutting out a lot of the meat from the diet is working for us. I feel happier with the choices that we're making. Although a lot of chicken is going on our plate.
Like chicken, it's going to be hard for me to give up chicken. They're going to have Impossible fried chicken before I can give that up because I love fried chicken.
Morningstar is working on it. Morningstar is coming up with, I can't remember what it was called. It was it's not Impossible. It's got a great name. I'll remember it later. Morningstar is working on a far better product than they have now. Although their bacon is Morningstar's bacon is. I love Morningstar's bacon. Yes,
because I love bacon. It. Bacon is another weakness. This is bacon. I love it so much. It doesn't exist yet, but they need like a casual eatery type place that's all vegetarian. I mean, like Impossible Burger to tell the difference.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be great. Oh, I'd love to start a restaurant like that.
Hey, I'll help as much as I can. Good substitutes for meat. That way you can bring, everybody and people who are still meat eaters, they can still have that and they can't tell the difference. But
yes.
The meat eaters can't tell the difference.
I've been looking for
food.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so
we had curry.
I'm like looking
curry.
at it wistfully. I saw there a recipe that Che posted, I think, or somebody posted a recipe. Yeah.
We had I had it was a type of Madras curry tonight. That was really good.
Good.
Really good.
Yeah. Okay. I love curry. Oh my goodness. A restaurant in a few years, but when I do, oh my God, I usually get red curry. I love red curry.
I love green goat curry too.
Though, with all the cream. I've never had that.
Really? It's just green curry
goat
with
milk,
goat meat.
Yeah.
Goat meat.
No, I'm not going to eat a goat. I know I'm hypocritical, but I've limited the animals I'll eat. See, it's like
I don't think I could ever eat horse.
Milk.
Yeah.
No, please don't. That's just disgusting.
I don't think I could. Well, it wouldn't be disgusting. I just don't choose to. I think I've pet too many of them to actually consider them food.
I love horses. They're so beautiful. I petted one once. Okay, you want to know a neat story? Kind of mystical feeling to me. I'm sure most people would say there's nothing mystical about it. Mystical to me. When my mother first moved into my apartment, living like 40 miles away, but I wanted her to move to Jacksonville so that she could be near me. Like after she moved in around my neighborhood. And there's this children's home that used to have horses. They don't have them anymore. But they had horses in the field. You're not supposed to do this, but I did it anyways. The fence, and the horses one by one came up to me and let me pet them one by one before, and they hadn't done it since. So beautiful, and I was just so happy moment for that. So
Oh,
I'm not going to eat a horse.
that is beautiful. I like that story.
Beautiful. Yeah, I still remember they had one blonde horse. Pretty, she had these beautiful brown eyes and I don't know what you call it, hair. Beautiful. And I can still see her eyes and her looking at me. And I was like, and then they moved them. I don't know what happened to them.
Well,
It really
yes, we
feels more like a porter. But I love
no,
it. It just feels more like a
actually
porter.
Untapped says it was put into rye barrels, but I
I
don't
might
know.
get that rye.
Yeah, that might be what you're tasting.
I'd be getting that rye because it's punchy. It's got this punchiness. That might be the rye.
I can't find it on
But
either
it's
Aardwolf or Intuition's websites,
I'll have
which
to
is
look.
weird.
Yeah. It could be, I mean, it could be that they did it a few years ago because some in the little refrigerator with all the beers, they have like several years versions of beers. So it looks like they've been stockpiling them for a while.
Well, if that's a couple of years old, then maybe maybe it's lost a bit of its stout intensity.
That's possible. It's bubbly. It's got almost that like Coca-Cola texture because it's really bubbly. And I think of that with port, stout, which I'm not complaining. I love it. I mean, I tend more toward porters and stouts because I can't do the heavy stuff like I used to.
Yeah.
It got that Coca-Cola texture because of all the bubbliness. I do.
That's good. I'm glad you like
Good
it.
one, Intuition and Article. I am too. $20. You can tell. I'm in a different financial class than other people because $20 is a big deal for a bottle of beer, even a bomber. That's a big deal for me. And when we were preparing for the hurricane, I went to the liquor store and I got the good wine. San Sebastian, which is the wine in Augustine. I love them. They're my favorite. A port that is to die for, but I can't get it in the grocery store. I can only get it in the liquor store, and it's $20. I'm getting the good wine. It means I'm getting the port for $20. And believe me, for the hurricane, I got the port for $20, and it's gone already.
Oh. Well,
the good wine, the $20 wine. Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of prices, there is one human being on the planet we can feel very sorry for. BBC reported Peter Laylor ordered a Deutscher's IPA at
oh no
at a Manchester hotel. And it's an IPA.
God.
It's supposed to be like what, €5. He got charged 55,315 pounds. Sorry, not euros, pounds. In American dollars, that's about at that point it was either $60,000 to $90,000, and it actually came out of his account. It
Poor
actually came
guy.
out of his account. I would have lost my mind.
Oh,
That's like the most
Yeah, they
expensive
said in the
beer ever.
even more expensive than like the brew dogs. You know,
I
they
think
have
so.
is like
I don't think they
expensive beer.
I I think their most expensive charity beer was $35,000.
Yeah,
Charity.
but
Charity.
you know you're
Yeah.
doing right, and you
Yes.
know you're getting that. You're purposely making the decision to spend that kind of money.
Yeah.
Money. I'm sorry, that's not normal people money. And oh, poor guy. He said, writing on Twitter, I didn't have my reading classes when she presented me with a bill. I said I didn't want a receipt and she went to leave. The receipt. Always. You know, even if I don't have my glasses on, I'll put the receipt in front of my eyeball and I'll be able to read it. Sign on the dotted line.
Yeah.
Make sure you know what you're signing. And then
Yeah.
so
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm reading the article. I just paid for that beer. Covered her mouth, started to giggle and refused to tell me, saying only there had been a mistake and she would fix it. That's not the way to react to that.
No.
That she should have been shocked. She should have been apologetic. If it had been me, I would have been mortified and I would have said, I am so sorry. We are going to fix this right now.
Now
I would not giggle.
I
There's nothing funny about that.
I understand the feeling of horror that you get can emerge as,
Yes.
and social anxiety can emerge as
Yes.
giggling too.
Yeah.
But
That's
refusing to
true.
say what he had paid, that would be really bad. Now they did agree, they did agree to give him the refund,
I
obviously.
hope.
But
Now,
it was supposed to take days.
oh,
To add insult to injury, yeah, Mr. Lalor says to add insult to injury, they charged a 1,000 pound transaction fee.
oh, that's horrible.
What?
I would never go to England ever again. I certainly want to go to that bar. I would hesitate to go to that bar. I'm sorry.
The bar better say we're going to pay that $1,000 transaction fee.
They need to. Yeah. The Visa would intervene and refund it. But this says, well, a spokesman for Visa said the unusual case shows how important it is to always check details of payments and receipts. Yep. But he said, the victim said, Visa does not make decisions to authorize payments. Oh, no, this might be the spokesperson saying this. Oh, this is a spokesperson. So this is the official word. Make authorized payments. It's the ability of a cardholder's bank who will make a decision based on a number of factors, including the funds available. We will work with the cardholders and merchants' banks to help resolve this error. So it looks like Visa is going to work with the everything. It would be good for them if they refunded that $1,000, since that should not have been that transaction anyways. It would just be a nice thing for them to work with everybody.
Well, I'm trying to get to the brewery website. Here we go. Okay. 20 the month when I was born, the year.
Oh, I hate it when they do all that.
Okay, I can't get there because Caledonian, your website is broken.
Oh no. Oh.
See, I was gonna.
What were you gonna do?
Gonna actually mention the beer, but Caledonian Brewery by Caledonian. Okay, it's Deutscher's IPA. It's supposed to be a really great IPA by Caledonian Brewery.
55
And
pounds.
it appears I can't get past the birth date thing.
Mm-hmm. Let me try. Is the Deutscher's IPA? Is that it?
Yeah, Caledonian Brewery. Beer.com. The age verification just isn't.
Let me see. CaledonianBeer.com. Let's see if I can do it.
Do it.
It's not even opening up.
Point, yeah, I can tell. So people have been on it now. It has won a ton of awards, and enjoy the beer he bought.
That's good.
Apparently, it's a 3.8% beer.
Uh-huh.
But it's, I would anticipate, because it's an English IPA, it's not going to be, you know, typical Northwest American popped to nose.
Well, and that's okay with me because I don't need that. I don't like that. I can't. I put my date in, but I don't see where I pressed to say okay or whatever.
It turned red for me. It wouldn't let me go any farther.
Oh, that's what it did for me. I'm way of age, people.
Yeah.
And I did the month and date right. Huh. Maybe it wants to.
Supposedly has a lot of really good beers. So if you want a taste of something that has sold for 55,000 pounds, Caledonian has an IPA.
You know what?
You.
You know what? I clicked on the terms and service and it let me into the website. Oh no, now it's gone. Not now it's gone back to the ID. Never mind. This bugs me. I am of age. I am 70. Not I was about to say I'm 71 years old. I was born in 1971. They can't count. Let's see if I put 45. That was when my mother was born. Nope, they said red on 45 too.
Oh
well, we're not mature enough, I guess. Maybe that's it. Or maybe they know we don't have 55,000 pounds. Maybe that's it. Wah, wah.
pay for a beer.
Yeah. They're too rich for our bloods. They know. Sorry, Caledonian. We know it wasn't your fault. We're just messing.
Gotten plenty of from
them. They said it's just a shame no one can get into their website.
Exactly. Wanted to drink an actual Star Trek wine. Like, remember the episode in Next Generation where Picard went home?
Yes, his
vineyards.
Yes,
those vineyards produce wine.
Oh,
it's called Chateau Picard.
Oh, what is so badly? Oh, and you know, in Star Trek they don't use money, so I'll just, you know, I don't have to pay for anything. I'm sure I've got enough credits. Look at this special reserve. That looks so pretty.
We have a special person in the audience. Hi, Mom.
What? Is your mom in the audience?
Old Nana is my mommy.
Oh, thank you. Hey. I was gonna say, I don't know if I'm sure your mom knows, but this hurricane apparently is going to Canada or may have already went. I don't know.
Might have already reached up there.
Hi, Nancy. Nancy and I have been talking on Facebook. She's awesome. I love her.
Read about Chateau Picard. Supposed to be, it includes the Star Trek wines include a 2016 Bourgeois from Bordeaux, France, Reserve United Federation of Planets, Dell, StarTrek.com. It is Drink in the News of Chateau Picard wine. Oh, I hope I can get this. Some of these bottles, the Special Reserve bottle, glorious, because you know I'm what we look to refer to as a glass hole.
Oh, I don't. What does that mean? I don't even know what that means.
To purchase beer glasses, wine glasses, and it's just got such a lovely.
Yes, it's beautiful. I love it. the okay, one of them is $60. That's fancier than what I'm used to, and it says reserve now. That's the Cru Bourgeois Bordeaux. I don't even know if I like Bordeaux. I've never had Bordeaux.
Oh
Do I
yeah,
like
Chateau
Bordeaux?
Picard, Grand Vin de Bordeaux. Bordeaux is a bit of a heftier wine, but it's a little juicier
Mhm.
than the dry reds. Zinfandel
Okay.
is
I like juicy
earthier.
wine.
Zinfandel is earthier. I love old vine Zinfandel because I feel like you can taste the vine
Oh, neat.
wine.
Okay. Now I don't typically like Zinfandel, but that looks, when I think of Zinfandel, I think of white wine. That looks like a red wine.
Zinfandel is, pardon my language, a
Mhm.
bastardization of Zinfandel.
I don't like white Zinfandel. So, but
Zinfandel was specifically made for, lighter drinkers that didn't
oh,
like the big hefty Zinfandels.
and see, I like red wine. I,
I like red wine too. I like Merlots. I like old vine Zinfandels.
I like Malbec. Uh-huh.
Too.
I love sweet wines. Oh my God. My favorite of the San Sebastian is their Vintner's Red, which is sweet. I love it so much.
Says her partner Dennis also likes Zinfandels. I love
Ooh.
Zinfandels.
Well, this might be a good Christmas present for somebody, a birthday present. You can get both of the bottles for $110. That's way more than what I'm used to.
Oh, I know what's going on my wish list.
Exactly. I mean, if you want a nice present for somebody, I might mention this to Clint. He and Jerry can go into it. Huh?
I think the Star Trek Las Vegas ended August 4th. So
What?
Star Trek Las Vegas, the Star Trek
What
con in
ended?
Las Vegas ended August 4th
Oh,
anymore. Be able to get it online on Star Trek Lines.
yeah. It says pre-order now for December. Now, makes me wonder, do you think if you get it, do you think you'll save it or drink it right away?
I'd probably drink that old vine Zinfandel right away because it says 2017. I think 2 years is just fine.
Oh,
Zinfandel, and I could
I
certainly use
think
that
so.
bottle for other things.
That's true. You think you'd use
Bordeaux.
the bottle for something else?
The special reserve bottle, absolutely. That's a gorgeous bottle. I could use that for other things. Now the Chateau Picard, for a while,
Okay. Yeah, let
until
the Bordeaux sit.
appropriately special.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I could let it sit that long. I'd go crazy. I'd be like, "Where's that wine bottle?" The first night that I was out of wine, like next time that I poured the last drop of wine, I was like, "Dang it, I need more wine." Picard, where are you? Get in here, Picard. Make it
Still
so.
have my bottle of Deep Space Nine wine.
How old is
And that
that?
was from the Star Trek experience.
Really? Oh wow, that's 20 years.
Yeah, I will never open that. At least 15
Wow.
years ago that I got that when I went to the convention there.
Well, I mean, like, I'm not trying to be morbid, but eventually, like, you'll pass on and you'll never have experienced it. What's the point of saving it
Actually,
for that long?
I had a bottle of it.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, it was an okay wine. It wasn't, woohoo, but
Oh. Mhm.
I went to the Star Trek experience and I have this to kind of prove I went.
Well, it's funny. I have a box of cookies that I saved from the 50th anniversary of the Roswell landing. And yes, it did happen. The Roswell landing. I went in 1997. I went to Roswell, New Mexico. for the 50th anniversary, and I bought a box of cookies. I'll keep this forever because this will be a collector's item one day. And now I look at it, I'm like, I'm never going to open it because what are these cookies going to be like after 20 years? I mean, I'm like scared of them now. I'm like, why did I do that? These things are going to have a life of their own. They're going to uproot and float down the river.
But they still look alien eggs that will inhabit your body and turn you into an alien.
Exactly. They're just waiting for the right moment. It's only been 20 years. They're like, let's see if we can make it to 30, and then we'll crawl into her ears and overtake her body. I should check. They may have already hatched.
Maybe.
But the weird thing is, they still look like they're basically, they look like Nilla wafers, and they still look like that. Like, I'm not going to open the package because they're in, they're sealed, but you can see through the seal, and they just look like regular Nilla wafers after 20 years. And I'm like, I almost want to open it up and just taste a tiny bit. Then I would die.
Any day I do my Sturmstrang challenge.
What's Sturmstrang?
The canned fish from Norway that's supposed to be.
Yes, I've heard of that.
So eventually I will do that challenge.
Why?
Good place than my apartment.
Yes. Well, now I forgot. What are the effects supposed to be?
Let's see. Hallucinations.
Oh God.
I'm just kidding. It's just supposed to be, you're not like, so many people have said that, they can't even swallow it. So we'll see. Although I think alien cookies might be a little worse.
Yeah, 20-year-old alien cookies. But, I don't know. Maybe I'll end up being a world leader. I'll be, I'll suddenly get clarity of purpose.
I accept our new world overlord, Lola.
Well, remember, though, I'm controlled by the aliens at this point, so we don't know what I'm going to be like.
It can't be any worse.
You are right about that. Even then, I'll know the difference between Alabama and Georgia. Even if I'm an alien overlord, I can read a dang map. And I won't be
stupid. You won't be using crayon to redraw it?
Sharpie. I won't. He can't afford to get someone to go to Kinko's and at least try to make it look right. I
don't think it was him. I think Eric used the Sharpie because I don't think they let him have Sharpies.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I don't know if they let Eric have Sharpies either. I don't know.
At this point, I'm starting to think that Eric is a little more intelligent than his father.
Maybe they should hey, I'll take Ivanka. I mean,
that is true. My mother is an alien.
She is a resident alien. Mm-hmm. So she came over from another place, far, far away, as far as I can see. I've never been there. I've always wanted to go to Canada. I've never been to Canada.
I've been to Canada. They have some great festivals.
Well, you were when you were a baby. I learned all about you.
When I was a teenager, I went too. There's some great festivals up there.
Okay. I would love to go. I really would. I just don't have any money.
Yeah.
But one day.
Device. Well, shall we talk about our controversial topic?
Sounds like a plan to me.
So, I'm going to change one little thing here. I have on the list, of the subjects that we forgive, or that we attempt to forgive as, racism, sex, religious persecution, terrorism. But I'm definitely going to add sexism into that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. There's a lot of that.
Yesterday, I was thinking about the way that you described what you don't like in reading. And all of a sudden, bang, popped into my head a book that, and I know it's going to be frustrating, but I'm not going to mention the name of the book because the author has changed his style of writing.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote about women as if they were unimportant.
I hate that.
Completely, like
Indifferent.
as if whatever they did didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And it infuriated me so much. And I am not allowed to write a 1-star review on Amazon.
Oh, because you're a writer on there?
Yeah.
I guess and I'm not allowed to
my review of his first book was removed from Amazon because I can't write 1-star reviews.
Okay.
It infuriated me so much, though.
Mm-hmm.
I deleted the book not only off my reading list,
Mm-hmm.
but off Amazon completely.
I get that.
As if
I understand.
I had never purchased it.
I understand.
I could not stand the thought of reading a book where women just didn't matter.
Right. You don't want to support it even mentally.
Yeah.
I get
And
that.
I sent him, I sent him messages explaining why I did that and why I thought it, and that I couldn't give him a review, but I was very, very angry.
Mm-hmm.
And it took him a long time before he answered me. And eventually he agreed that the way he was writing about women was not, he said, accurate.
That's a nice way to put it. That's a very benign way to put it.
Yeah, but I think you have some great other examples.
Okay. Well, for instance, in the book I'm listening to now, is John le Carre. I don't remember what started me. I was never into spy novels as a kid or in my 20s or even 30s, but all of a sudden I'm just like, spy novels. I want to read all the spy novels. And I think I read an article on John le Carre and Grant Freeman, and that's what got me started. So I've been listening to the George Wiley books from John Carre. And I'm on the third one. They're very good. And this has a different protagonist. And I think that's made all the difference, because the first two, I don't remember anything particularly dismissive toward women. Not really. But this one, the protagonist, I have to remember, and I have to stop and remind myself this when I get perturbed. He is an undercover spy, so the character is playing a character. We don't even know who the real person is because he's been playing this character. So he's playing a lout, a drunken, down on his luck, insincere, dickish lout. And he says things like, "It was a woman there," and the voice actor is so good about putting the emphasis on women. And it was just a bunch of women, and he says things like that. And then I think in our notes I put the example. He's talking about a woman, and he says, "Hold on, let me get to it." Okay. And this isn't even the character describing this. This is the narrator describing this. The narrator talks about a woman saying she's spindly, drab, undesirable. And he talks about a mark she has on her thigh. So it's obvious she's been abused, but he only alludes to that by saying she has a bruise on her thigh. It's very cold, very uncaring, and it really bugged me. But one thing I can think of that might defend it is, I think even though it was the narrator saying that, the narrator is matching the style of the book overall. And the name of the book is The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. It's the third novel from John le Carre. And the whole novel is just very cold and unfeeling, and it's supposed to make you feel used and abused and unwanted, because everybody in the book is used and abused and unwanted and cast aside. So I think that the narrator is mimicking that even when he's describing other characters. So I can kind of let it go when I think like that, but it still bothers me because it was pretty nasty the way she was described. But there's he goes on to describe the character. The spy has one Achilles heel. It's a woman that he had a relationship with, and she is described very favorably. Favorably, yeah. So that makes me, and that's the one point of light in the book, is the relationship they have. Even though the words he used to describe this woman is really hard to hear or read, lends itself to the tone of the book. And the only light spark is the woman he has the affair with, and she's talked about favorably. So I think it's done that way on purpose so that the spotlight is on the relationship with a woman, and everything else is drab. I mean, everyone else is talked about badly. No one's good in this book. Everyone has problems. Everyone is down on their luck, alcoholic, slubby, dirty, all this stuff. So I'm trying to remember context when I listen to it, because otherwise, if I don't, I'll just be horrified. But you got to remember, this was written in the 60s. Or no, wait, it took place in the 60s. It might have, I can't remember if it was written in the 60s, but it took place in the 60s. And this is no excuse, but that's the way people thought. It doesn't make it right, but it might explain some of it.
So context, I agree, is a huge part of writing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a huge part of the book. If it could be purposeful that these characters, you know, use terms like you said the main character, Lemus, calls people pansies all the time.
Mm-hmm. I don't like that.
That's like an itch for me too. Now
I know. I'm like,
if that's part of the character itself, I think that lands in my forgiveness zone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
As long as this is not a theme that runs through like all the writing that the author does.
Oh, definitely not. We never heard the word pansies in his prior two books, but
yeah,
that was a different protagonist. So I've only heard this type of language in this book. That's what makes me think it's the character and the situation in the book.
Is it possible the author was trying to irritate you by throwing that in?
It's possible. It is possible. And I mean, this was the 60s, so back then there wasn't, the umbrage that we have now. I mean, other people might read that word and they actually might take the opposite view, like, oh, I hate pansies. They may say that, oh, we don't like pansies. And so it's like, I still, back in the 60s, I don't know how many people would be irritated at that. So I think it's so hard to tell, because even though it's a coarse word, I don't like it at all. Back in the 60s, it probably still would have been easily forgiven, even if someone had honestly said it. That does bother me a little bit. I'm like, just that it's bandied about so easily without anyone batting an eye.
That's true. Using that to create that thought about, men being pansies.
Yeah.
That's also an itch to me, because it's almost as bad as, sexism towards women.
Yeah.
To me. Although I'm not a man, I've never felt the fury that a man must feel when somebody turns around and calls him a pansy for feeling. For feeling something.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't hit me as hard as sexism towards women, but it still hits.
It gets me. It does bug me because even though the character is trying to be coarse because he's playing a down on his luck, lout type person, it's still accepted by everyone around him. No one questions him or says anything, and that just bugs me. But that was a sign of the time. That was the 60s. You could say that and no one would bat an eye. And that's bothersome to be reminded of, but that's part of our history. And
our producer also says even in the 80s and early 90s in Ireland, no one would have batted an eyelid.
See, that sucks so bad. That just bothers me.
I know by the time I got into high school, it was still being used, but people were hesitating before they said it.
At least they knew there was something wrong about it.
It was becoming something that people highly suspected was not kosher.
It's not a pleasant word to say. It's not a pleasant feeling when it's said about anybody. And the character, he says it specifically about a character, and the character is a throwaway character. And I mean, when I think more about it, it like makes me cringe because the throwaway character is a very ineffectual type character. I mean, he's the bottom of the chain in the espionage line, and he's very much treated like he's just a throwaway person. And then he calls him, he's a pansy, blah blah blah. And I'm like, if he truly means gay person, then it does really bother me because they just cast him aside so easily. But you know what? I'm tearing apart. Kare thought that much about it when he wrote it. So it could be that I'm putting stuff into it that's not there. So I mean,
so
it's one of those.
You're feeling modern feelings in
right
in a previous context that wasn't quite there.
Exactly. I mean, it could be this didn't enter John le Carre's mind at all. I mean, the character was a throwaway character, and the fact that he called him a pansy, it may not have been a statement at all. So I hesitate about writing a statement over it when it wasn't meant to be a statement. It's one of those things where it's like you can't be sure. You just can't.
Well, there are other books that have come up, and you put in Huckleberry Finn as an example.
Yep.
Huckleberry Finn was written when Huckleberry Finn was written. The terms in that book were considered okay at that time.
People use them all the time. White people.
But there's no way I would use the N-word in my books unless it was a blatant example of racism. Even as an author, I feel like I don't have the right to that word.
No, I don't. And I would not even write it into a book. There's no way to impersonalize that word. There's no way to separate that word history. So even if I put it in my book, I feel like I would be appropriating it, and that's something I don't want to appropriate. I am still a white lady. It does not belong to me. I wouldn't put it in a book. I would write around that. I really would. And that's my personal thought. I mean, other people feel differently. Another example, I was talking about Stephen King's book, Mr. Mercedes. There's a character there he's a horrible murderer. I mean, he is a psychopath, and he uses the N-word all the time. N. And I mean, he's supposed to upset you. It's Stephen King. He's supposed to get under your skin. He's supposed to make your skin crawl. And I couldn't listen to it. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't have been done. I'm not saying that it didn't match the character. For me, viscerally hearing that word over and over again, I couldn't do it. Maybe if I'd actually read the book, it would have been different. But hearing especially since the voice actor was a white guy. I was like, don't. But I'm not going to say somebody can't, because it's part of the book. It's part of what Stephen King put in the book. I'm not going to say don't do it. I'm just going to say, for me, it just makes every part of my body just shudder, and I'm like, no. And I can listen to other Stephen King books.
So it's different.
I have no problem.
It's different for you reading it, because Nana says, can a racist character say the N-word in a sentence using asterisks? Would that be more acceptable to you?
Let me go back and read that. Hold on. In a sentence using asterisks. Well, but then you're kind of editing your character, because your character isn't saying in asterisk asterisk asterisk. So you might as well not put it in at that point.
Well, I did in high school. In high school,
Okay.
I did a creative writing assignment where I did use offensive words that we were not allowed to use.
Ooh.
But I used only the first letter, and the rest were symbols. And it got me in trouble to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But it did pass.
Okay.
I mean, it got the point of the assignment across. That
Okay.
I am, if you're going to ask me to write creatively, you can't tell me that I can't write something, because I'm going to find a way around it.
That's true.
But people's comfort level is so it's so flexible from person to person. I might be okay with reading it, but like you, listening to it makes me flinch. But the use of the N-word in modern literature, I feel, is not okay if the person has not lived in that culture.
Yeah. Like
a white person should not be using
the
N-word.
No, not at all. And it's a very old balancing act, because you want to be realistic. You want to embrace every aspect of human life. You don't want to shy away from anything. But then again, you don't want to support something that is vulgar, that hurts people. It's a personal choice for every person. And I'm not going to call out Stephen King for using the N-word in his book, or the voice actor for saying it. I'm not going to call them out, because that's the way the character was. He was the murderer. I mean, it's a book about a serial killer. He was. So I'm not going to say he shouldn't have done it. But it was just, for me, hard to hear. It was just, the whole Strickland side of my family, they were awful racist. I'm sorry, they were. And to hear that word, it's like, it just brings me back, and I'm like, no, 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 no. I personally don't want to hear that word. But I'm not going to tell someone they can't put it in their book, because I also don't believe in censorship. If they want to put it in their book, they're allowed.
Yeah. Now, I mean, in the U.S. Navy, on the ship, we had plenty of guys that used the N-word when they were playing cards.
Were they white or black?
No, they were all black. Every single person who used it was black, and they were using it within their own cultural group. I mean, if a white person walked along and said it,
oh yeah, no.
Yeah, there would have been huge trouble. Every single head would have just gone.
Excuse me? What did you say?
What did you just say? So context, like you said, is everything. But I'm just not sure I could actually put it in my books unless
I wouldn't.
Unless it had a specific purpose at a specific moment, historically accurate. You know, I didn't even do it. I didn't even do it in, well, no, I think I actually did do it in The Hunger Inside.
Oh, I don't
It
remember
was a
that.
historical type. Yeah, it's no. I used the term black, not the N word.
That's okay.
I can't. It's such a touchy subject.
It's too touchy. Growing up in the South, I mean, it's a hot potato. I won't touch it at all.
And you have more experience than I do with that term.
I'm not going to be, this white person won't say that word. I won't touch it. There are enough white people out there who don't have a problem with it. I won't touch it. I am not going to be part of that. I will be 100 feet away from that. I don't want anything to do with it, even in a historical context. I won't tell a black person they can't say it. To a black person and said, you shouldn't use the N word. That would just be me white-splaining. That would be like a man going up to you and saying, Linda, you shouldn't have a mohawk. No, I'm not going to tell a person of another race what they should do with their own race. I'm not going to do that. That would be the most ridiculous thing in the world. So even though I flinch when I hear black people say the N word, I'm not going to tell them not to. It's their word. They earned it. They can do what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even PBS even has a teacher's guide.
That was a good article. I liked that.
That is 6 pages long on exploring the controversy of the N word. And Langston Hughes in The Big C in 1940 offers the commentary, used rightly or wrongly, ironically or seriously, of necessity for the sake of realism, or impishly for the sake of comedy. It doesn't matter. Negroes do not like it in any book or play whatsoever, be the book or play ever so sympathetic to the treatment of basic problems of the race. Even though the book or the play is written by a Negro, they still do not like it. The N word, you see, sums up for us who are colored all the bitter years of insult and struggle in America. So yeah, we don't need to return to that. We really don't.
I don't want to of a horrible time in their culture, of a hateful time in their culture. Why would I do that?
They're reminded enough in every single day.
Every situation, every single day. They're reminded. They don't need me to do that.
I was reminded of it today when I received my passport. My passport is so, it looks like it came out of a saltine box. It is so white.
Really?
There are no quotes by people of color. There are no pictures of people of color. The closest they come is a few pictures of buffalo and a couple of wooden totem poles. All the rest of it is just white.
Yeah, that's sucky.
I mean, what happened to all the beautiful history that, all the beautiful history that really embraces the pain that people of color in America have gone through? Martin Luther King, come on, you couldn't even throw Carver in there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You couldn't throw any people of color from any other country that emigrated and helped you.
Dwayne Johnson on there. They couldn't put Dwayne Johnson on there.
Instead, it turned out to be classic white American history. It just reminds me of, how much of a problem we have still.
Oh, we're supposed to have Harriet Tubman on, I think, the $20 bill. Person took office.
Yeah.
Person took office. That got put on hold. Dude, come on. But living in the Man in the High Castle, if we were living in that, a certain person would be like Nazi party. I'm just saying
Yeah.
how I feel. A certain person is not head of a Nazi party is because he can't
Yeah.
he can't travel that far alt-right. It pisses me off.
Oh, yeah, I agree, Mom. The term Negro is also not correct. I was
No.
quoting directly from the article.
Okay. Oh, I didn't. She said many people were not from those areas. Is Negro from like Nigeria? Where does Negro come from?
I was reading off the actual and Hughes commentary from his book, The Big C.
It's funny. Twitch withheld that comment until I said allow.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and now it's still doing it. It's still doing that. Allow to post a chat. She just because of ID. I do not like that word at all. You can tell. I don't like the nanny state. Jason and I have been talking about the nanny state. I do not like the nanny state. I don't hold a friggin' post because someone said a word. I'll decide if I want it. It annoys me. Everyone's so freaking sensitive.
Speaking of books that used to be okay, controversial now. Read Anthony.
A long time ago, but I don't remember much about his books. I never read a whole lot.
No, I mean, but I read Piers Anthony when I was a teenager, and I didn't see anything. Really didn't see a whole lot because I thought for sure Piers Anthony was using sexism, a plot device.
And sometimes you think that.
Until later that I realized Anthony used sexism.
Oh, it was real.
Book. Every single book he ever wrote. Same sexism.
And that may be why I didn't read it. That may be why I didn't read it. And that's showing science fiction in the 70s or whenever, 60s. That would happen and no one blink an eye because people thought science fiction was for boys. Science fiction was for boys, so it didn't matter. I started reading Cat in the Cradle and I had a hard time because of the way the female characters were portrayed. I couldn't finish it.
Oh, that's something that really turns me off now. Like, sensitive to it.
Me too.
We'll put the books down. And although every once in a while I go back to read Stranger in a Strange Land, I don't read it as often as I used to. And I don't read Piers Anthony. I find it so irritating. I can't.
There's so much good science fiction that we don't have to pay mind to the stuff that is aggravating to us. I would never tell anybody don't read it. Choose not to read it because I don't want that. I don't need that in my life. There's just enough good stuff out there that I don't need to pay any mind to the. And that was another time, and we're way past that time. And I would rather spend my money and my thoughts on modern science fiction that is fair to all races and genders and all that stuff. I'm back in the muck of misogynistic troll up crap.
Yeah.
But crap.
Have you ever read comics, the Red Sonja comics?
Never have.
That was for me. I came to the conclusion that Sonja has sex with somebody. Her.
Okay, so that's their prize?
That's those of her.
Oh, okay.
The prize thing is how I originally viewed it. I thought, oh, so
that's
their prize after they win, but no. Sonja for a while. I finally realized, how she's testing them to see if they're worthy of enough to beat her in battle. That's kind of cool.
I like that. That way they're true equals.
Because that is how they judge each other.
The warrior princess doing that too. Okay.
I loved Xena Warrior Princess. Xena. She was any Xena books? They had to have come out with Xena books.
They did. I'm sure they did. And had tie-in books. I had 50 Star Trek books.
Yeah, there are lots of Xena books. Lots of Xena books.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind reading Xena at all. Although I watched the TV series mainly for the humor.
Mm-hmm. I loved it. I love the characters. I love Joxer. I'm upset. Sure, but that's okay. Life moves on. To do a reboot, but it never took off, huh?
It was because the weaker characters. How did the weaker characters to grow? Keep them subservient, no matter what gender they were. That pathway for them to grow into the type of character.
Side Joxer. Belief, but he was a goofball. And he wanted to help.
It was just
useless.
He was absolutely useless, but at the end, he wasn't, Xena level. Confidence in himself enough to make good decisions.
So that matters.
Happen in literature too.
Every character has to be perfect. Not every character has to be strong and indefeatable. Some characters room to grow.
I know there are some people who don't like sex in books and they think it's there at all. Sex in books, like,
How is it story? A true story. I tried to write a sex-oriented story. because this woman I met at DragonCon, she was an editor for lesbian book publishing house, and she said that they were having a contest or something, and she gave me her card and said, "We'll write a story and send it to me." So I tried. I apparently did not do a good job. When she responded, she was really nice. She said, "Consider more sex positive." I was like, "Okay, positive." So I tried. It didn't work. It's okay. It's not my forte. I don't really enjoy sex scenes in books, or to me, it's like that person should happen off screen.
Yeah.
I don't need sex scenes. I don't particularly want them. I was going to say they need to be consensual, but that kind of goes to something else in one of the articles that show notes. Sometimes rape is a thing that happens, and that rape doesn't exist. You're whitewashing women's experiences. You have to write rape scenes. Write it where it's not gratuitous and it respects the female. It's a very hard business to write a rape scene, and I've never done it. I don't ever want to do it because it's just so hard to do it without seeming like you're sexualizing it, because you don't want to sexualize a rape scene because it's not about sex, it's about power. So if you're going to write a rape scene, it needs to respect the, and I say female, really I should say the victim, because it can be male or female. You need to respect the victim, but also you don't want to romanticize it at all, and you don't want to trivialize it, but you also don't want to turn it into porn. That's the worst thing you could do. Writing a rape scene would be very hard, and I don't even think I would try it. What do you think?
Is necessary literature.
Mhm.
Even, and I've read some explicit scenes in books. Explicit scenes, it is understood, contain explicit scenes.
Yeah.
It's not something, I mean, I can read it. Can't read like a lot. It's so disturbing, exactly, because like you said, it's about power, and
Yes.
I don't like powerless. And when I read about something like that, I feel like who is doing the act, me, the reader.
Well, as women, we take it very personally. We put ourselves in the victim's body and we feel what the victim feels. And so it's hard not to take it personally. But at the same time, if you're going to write a scene like that, you need to make it feel like it would feel. So it'd have to be powerful like that. It's just hard to
Rape is not half consensual sex.
Oh,
it's not about being consensual at all. Rape is completely a power trip on the person, upon the victim themselves.
How did we get a troll?
Yes.
Ooh.
I'm not sure that's a troll. Yes, men get raped too.
Yes, men they do. That's why I said, I say woman, but I need to say victim because men do get raped too. But it's not half consensual. The perpetrator is consenting. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the perpetrator thinks. It matters what the other person thinks. consensual, it's rape.
Yeah.
It's
The explicit that I read recently was about a transsexual man convince him to be a woman.
Wait, say that again?
Explicit scene that I read recently was a short story involving the rape transgender man.
Okay. And the person was
the person in power, the person who was raping him, was trying to punish him, make him go back to being a woman. Extremely well written.
That's okay, good.
Was so scary.
It's disturbing. It's still disturbing.
Happens.
Yes, I'm sure it does.
Happens. Can be educational. Those feelings that it stirs up.
Say
of the acceptable uses.
Yeah. It's a very fine line because exploitative at all, it's a no.
Exactly. You don't want to appeal to the perverts.
Correctly.
It needs to be realistic. Involve the feelings of the victim.
It needs to. It needs to be very much from that perspective because that's who it's affecting. I wouldn't want it needs to be very much from the victim's perspective. Give any more power to the perpetrator. Those things, I think this would need to be in a book or a TV show because it would be really hard to do this well. Do it well, it's just going to look like porn. I love that.
Tattoo.
That was very good. Huh?
That was quite explicit.
That was hard. Yeah, I think it was harder in the book. I read the book, and I think it was harder in the book if I remember correctly.
Taking vengeance. And I feel bad that it felt satisfactory. Is that wrong? I mean,
that's what fiction's for. Fiction's for is a
want that to happen.
No.
Thought about it. Sorry, go ahead.
What he did was for after. There's a word I'm looking for. I've had a lot of this collaboration. Reprehensible. Thank you. Reprehensible. What she did was reprehensible. Literature is acting out things we want in another character, and so I'm like, it's a fictional character. I'm not going to argue. It felt a little good. I was like, yeah, he deserved it. He's a monster. But of course, I would never want anyone to do that in real life because that's taking the law into your own hands. And if you do something that monstrous to someone, that turns you into a monster. And I've forgotten the character's name, the girl with the dragon tattoo. She had been abused so much that she wasn't a sociable type character.
No, she was not your buddy down the street anymore.
No, she wasn't.
She had been tortured beyond her ability to cope. Wanted to do was this one person could never do that again without somebody knowing exactly what he was.
Right. She was a rage machine at that point. And so I don't wish that on anyone. Yeah. And she was a victim in that sense. She never had a chance to be a average person, someone you would know who works with you. She never had that chance. She was sculpted from a young age to be an assassin.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's fiction, but it does kind of scratch an itch that I think a lot of us have. Itch.
Yeah, that's true. So
Costumes.
how about things like BDSM?
Well, I mean, that's consensual. I'm not saying I do it,
Yeah.
but if someone, as long as you have your safe words and it's regulated, I'm okay with it. Go do it. Do you.
Yeah.
You only live once. YOLO, all that stuff. As long as it's consensual and words, I'm cool with it.
Do you think that would fit in the literature genre? Do you think it could fit in a literature genre?
Well, a lot of the people who read literature with a capital L are uptight and probably wouldn't like it. It would probably be regulated to the 50 Shades of bookstore section. I mean, I think if it's
that's
done
actually,
well.
I mean,
Huh?
I think if, well, I can't say supportively because it could actually be the main, it could be the main subject of a book if it involved the person's story and not just the BDSM as a thrill ride.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there could be somebody who works in that industry and lives that life, and that's their story, but that's not all of them. That's not them, the person. So
Their life.
So yeah, it still could be literature with a capital L.
It could be. Those things of word literature with a capital L, because I think so much of it is pompous and I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, that's true, but I feel like there's a lot of, literary, what I call literary fiction.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I started out with a literary fiction book.
Yeah.
And it really tells the people's story, not just, I mean, the book I'm writing now is just a plain fantasy fiction, take you out of your world book. I think literary fiction draws you into the world to make you realize a lot of these concepts exist without having to experience them firsthand yourself.
I agree. What I was trying to say is that I don't always trust literary with a capital L books to get the circumstances right. I could see a case, meaning literary writer might try to portray, say, a prostitute, and it would end up just being like, oh, I feel sorry for this prostitute. She came from nothing, but I'm going to elevate her, sort of like the white savior, but in this case, the rich savior or something. I can see it done horribly wrong, even in literature with a capital L. I could just see it be horribly wrong.
If the author didn't take the time to actually learn about it,
think about what they're writing, think about who their subject is, and be fair. And yeah, it could just turn into a rags to riches story. But if you really take the time to think about this character, meet people who have experienced this, then actually, honestly, the BDSM or whatever it is would be a backdrop. Take the time to explore a person with this background. That's just a backdrop. That won't have anything to do really with the story. It'll just be a mention. Oh yeah, she's in her spare time. A good example. I'm watching a show on Amazon called Carnival Row. Have you started watching that?
I have. I have.
You know
It is.
her poet best friend, her roommate who's a poet.
Yes.
She earns money by being a prostitute.
Yes.
But that's not her. She's a poet. She's her. She's a creative person. To have to earn money by doing this other side thing. So really, if you take the time to learn about the person, you'll realize that's just one tiny facet to who they are.
Yeah.
Did I kill the
No, no, I'm
conversation?
like, that was so profound. Like,
Oh, thank you.
there are just some things that, like, it's just so profound. I have to kind of let it like sink into my brain. That's just one tiny facet of who they are. That's
Yeah. And I think the fairy on Carnival Row is an excellent example. I'm only on episode 3, so I don't know what happens to her later, but I mean, they make the point. She's a poet. She is a renowned individual, but she's circumstances. She can't make money being a poet, so she makes money doing what's available to her, which is being a prostitute.
yeah.
So, yeah. But also, with that in mind, there are people who fully want to do what they do. They're happy. Or another example is the TV show Firefly. Did you ever watch that?
Oh, I've watched that so many times.
Me too. I've got the box set. So, what's her name? Inara? Is that
Yes.
Fully chooses to do that? I mean, she's got her own little ship. She's got beautiful clothes. She went to school to do that. She does. It's a career.
Yes.
Judge someone for that. I mean, maybe they want to do that. Maybe they're happy. They're to do. And she's a consort, so they make the point in sexual behavior. She's also schooled in empathy and relating to people, so she's also a diplomat. I mean, basically, it makes an extension of diplomacy.
She's actually a very, very good diplomat.
She is extremely good. They could all learn from her.
Yeah.
So it's just, they've taken it from just being about sex to being about overall intuition and relating to people. It's just sometimes they use physical means, not just their cerebral means.
So I mean, overall, the literary book really should be, the story of the person or the people,
right?
With these themes, explaining their life, but it's not defining them completely.
It's not defining them, and it should never judge them. If the author is judging them, they're doing it wrong.
Yeah, rape should never be the victim's fault.
No.
No.
Nope. They weren't. It doesn't matter what they're wearing. It doesn't matter who they're consorting with. It doesn't matter what they say. It is a wrong thing to do. You should never force yourself on a person.
Yeah.
And that's been another sticking point with me too, because recently in the last few years, it's kind of come to light where people that we would otherwise like, celebrities, have actually been guilty of coercing people. And it's just now that it's come out because of everything that's been going on. A good example is George Takei. I love George Takei. I can't stop loving him. But he did admit on a talk show that he would coerce men. He said, if they didn't seem up
willing
for the challenge, I don't know. Willing, yeah. I don't want to say willing, because that does really make it sound like rape. But if they're not, if they're on the fence about it, wiles and coerce them to do it. And it's like, Oh, that's wrong. I think for too long, we've thought about rape as being between a man and a woman.
Yeah.
Fault. That's straight people's fault that way. And if it happened between two men, we're like, what's the problem?
Yeah.
You like guys anyways. What's the problem? Coercion is not okay. But I think a lot of us are just realizing that now. I mean, it's just our fault because we're stuck in our own perspective. And we never thought about it from a young gay person's perspective.
Yeah.
They can be coerced. They can be taken advantage of. They can be raped.
Very true. And
Yeah.
Nana's asking about marital rape. Yeah, marital rape
Yes,
in
that happens.
literature has been, it's been glossed over
Yes.
so many times as normal marital relations when it is not. When they say no, either the man or the woman says no, that it still should be no, and that's how it should be treated in the book. If you keep going, it's rape.
Yep. And that, I think part of that is because until ago we were considered property. We were property, and the husband could do what he wanted with us because that was our job. Our job was to have sex with him whenever he wanted. And it isn't until the last 40 or so years where if we are not in the mood, we are not in the mood. We don't want it. You can't force yourself on us. Even if you put a ring on it, that doesn't mean you can force yourself on us. Same thing with date rape. People think, well, you went out with them.
Yeah.
You want to know a true story?
Okay.
It's not rape, but it is it's assault. I went out with a female friend of mine. I won't name her name. I feel bad about this now. I don't know. But I went out to a bar with a female friend of mine. A guy she knew, and he was with one of his friends. I never met him or the friend ever. And so we're hanging out, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna go to this other bar. Do you want to go?" And we're like, "Okay." So my friend and her guy friend get in the front seat. And then I get in the back seat with the other guy friend. I've never met either of these guys before. So I get in the back seat. Next thing I know, my friend and her male friend in the front seat are kissing. And I'm like, what the hell? Okay, next thing I know, me is on top of me and fingering me. Yeah. I got very angry. I threw him off. I was like, what the hell is going on? And I said, I'm getting out of here. Mad at me. Because I got out of the car and she got out of the car because, we'd gone there together. And I said, we'll take a cab.
Became your unfriend, right?
No, we're still friends. She said, this is what she said. Well, we were kissing, so I guess he expected he would get something too. I mean, you were in the car with him.
So obviously she did not understand consent at all.
She did not understand. And this was 20 years ago. This is before a hashtag Me Too or anything. But yeah. I knew. I was pissed. I was furious. And I'm still mad. To this day, I'm still mad. I haven't said anything about it to her because I don't want to beat a dead horse. She's a nice woman. I just don't think she got it.
Yeah.
I guess she just didn't get it. I was shocked when she said that. I was shocked when the whole thing happened. I was so grossed out and weirded out. And these were the freewheeling 90s. I know this guy. In my view, okay, I was in a situation once where I met a boy who I really liked, and we spent a night talking and we kissed, and that was sweet and cute. That's okay. But this, I did not know this guy.
Yeah.
I hadn't given any indication that I was interested in him at all. And he started fingering me. I mean, in there,
that is not okay. No
I don't
way.
even. I was like, that's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you only do that if you're initiating sexual relations with somebody, you know? I'm like, no. And I was so freaked out, and I'm still freaked out 20 plus years later.
Yeah. Well,
So
oh,
it's
yes,
not
it's
okay.
totally understandable. Absolutely.
Not okay. And that wouldn't even, I mean, I was going to talk about date rape, but that wasn't even a date. I had just met him that night.
Yeah.
Just met him that night. It's just if
So
there's any, oh,
so how about in literature, should we be replacing rape with the word assault? Or should we, I feel like we should call it what it is. If it's rape, it's rape. It seems to me not necessarily a good thing to call it assault, because most people wouldn't understand the difference.
maybe sexual assault.
Sexual
If
assault would work.
yeah, sexual assault, I would be okay with using that.
Yeah.
It's sad to think that the word rape has been watered down to where it doesn't affect people. That's a sad thought.
Yes, it is a very sad thought.
Rape is rape, people.
It
Rape
is.
is rape. Yeah, to me, I hear the word rape and I'm like, it clamps up every part of me. My bottom clamps up, everything clamps up, and I'm just like a shield goes up when
Oh
I
yeah.
hear that word. I don't even like, I mean, people use that word to talk about, you raped the land or for other things. I don't even want to hear it talked about other things. It's just, but it should have that visceral.
So in literature we shouldn't use it to describe other things.
I really wish they wouldn't, because it's meant, and maybe that goes to what old Nana is saying. Rape, the word rape doesn't always mean sexual assault. People use
Yeah.
it for other things. I felt raped because they stole my favorite peanut butter. I mean, people use it that flippantly, but people don't
Yeah.
use sexual assault flippantly. Should use sexual assault because it's more direct and explains better what is happening.
That's true. Instead of using a word that has become synonymous with something less important.
Right. I felt raped because my favorite shirt was ripped. I mean, flippantly, and they really
Yeah.
shouldn't. But I can't police everyone's vocabulary, so sometimes you have to adapt.
I like the idea of using, I'm going to remember that for, the literary things I write. I'm going to remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea because that's more explicit. It means what it means, sexual assault.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's not okay. If you're on a date with someone, if you're married to someone, it's not okay.
Yeah.
Still mad about that. It's been 20 plus years.
And
I'm
I mean,
doing
it is.
Kegel exercises. I'm automatically
Yeah.
going to Kegel. I'm like clamping up. I'm like,
So rape is okay if, sexual assault is okay in literature if it is direct, if it doesn't define the character. A
right.
character should not be there just for the sexual assault.
That's correct. And one of the articles you mentioned talked about how long rape has been used to further a male's character. Like they're coming in, swashbuckling, saving the girl.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're going to do that, you need to develop the victim's character also.
Yes.
Make it not seem so gratuitous. I
Yeah.
was going to say something else too. What else was I going to say? Don't romanticize it. As it, you're doing
No,
absolutely the wrong
exactly.
thing. Don't romanticize it. There's nothing romantic about it. It is assault. It needs to be painful. If you're going to do it, you need to do it right. me clamp up, I can guarantee you, but to feel.
Yeah. Well, there is I have from soundvision.com, I have an article, controversial literature, teach it or toss it. Is there any literature that you would not want people to read? Like, you think it should just be erased from the earth, period? It doesn't necessarily have to be literature. It doesn't have to be literature with a capital L. Is there a book out there that you think makes things absolutely worse for humanity and should never be read? It should just burn it, get rid of it. Nobody should read it.
Or I can't think of any examples right now. I'm sure there are that are just so gross. Graphic, but gratuitous that they are. I can't think of any examples, but at the same time, I'm not about censoring things. To give you an example, I was reading an article about what's his name? Oh, the Baltimore director who did who did like Pink Flamingos and all that. I'm missing his name. How can I miss his name?
I have no idea.
Oh my god! If you haven't watched them, it's okay. This informs a lot about my opinions because his movies are truly disgusting, but he should be able to make them. And I used to watch them, but they are disgusting. His name. Hold on, I can't believe I can't remember his name because it was his birthday recently or something, and that's why I'm thinking about him. John Waters.
Well, John Waters.
Yeah, he does. His early movies are they're disgusting. They really are. But I used to watch them, but they're not offensive to my sensibilities because they're very pro-gay.
Yeah.
But they're still disgusting. His early movies. I mean, like people pooping on stuff and just disgusting. So I mean, I would never, huh?
Our producer says Mein Kampf.
Oh yeah. What I've heard that, but I don't really remember. I know it's Nazi type stuff, right?
Yes. It's the manifesto. It's Hitler's manifesto.
Okay. Of Hitler. But you know what I would say to that? If you throw that book out, then people won't remember. And generations will say, well, what was so bad about Adolf Hitler? I mean, I didn't.
Well, I don't think they have to. I don't think they have to read the book in order to know how bad Hitler was.
That's true. I mean, it speaks for itself. He killed people.
But ones that I would toss out are ones that are definitely injurious to human life.
Mm-hmm.
Like the books on bleach treatment for autism.
Mm-hmm.
I think those should be outlawed.
That's a good point. Gay conversion therapy stuff.
Gay conversion therapy, you know, the promotion of gay conversion therapy books.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Those can be thrown out.
Those are extremely injurious.
Things that are harmful.
And I am glad. I thank you, Amazon, for stepping up for a lot of these things and not selling it.
Good. And they have that choice. They don't need to promote it if they don't want to.
No, they don't have to promote it, but I think publishers shouldn't publish them. Publishing houses that do publish them should probably be punished
Mm-hmm.
for publishing things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to read the manifesto to know how bad
That's true.
Hitler was, because we have so much conglomeration of proof as to
Mhm.
how bad the whole thing was.
That's true. But in other cases, you may.
As a historical document, maybe.
I kind of lean toward we need to keep it all. That's more like we need all the evidence because we need to remember everything. We don't need to let him off the hook for anything. We need to keep all this as evidence of what he did, what he.
Well, that's true, but selling it as an everyday book, I don't know.
See, I also don't believe in censorship, though. I mean, as awful as it is, as much as I hate it, we are still a free society, and people are allowed to buy what they want, as long as it doesn't turn into inciting violence. Which I've never read this, so it may incite violence. Then yeah, it can be banned.
I mean, kids have died because of the bleach thing.
Yeah,
so
that's true, and that's dangerous. So if it's dangerous,
yeah, if it's seriously dangerous like that, I mean, but then again, then we start leaning into, do we still need to tell Facebook that, they have to be on the lookout for these manifestos of these crazies who are mass murderers, who are taking guns and shooting people in parks and in banks and Walmarts.
I think the Facebook needs to be. They need to be very adamant about tracking this down, but I also think they can't police everything. There's too many people on Facebook. They're not going to catch everything. I don't believe in punishing Facebook if they did their best effort and didn't catch something.
Yeah.
There's something we talked about recently. I don't remember. They're trying to make it so that like Facebook and sites like that will be responsible, stuff like that.
And that's a huge debate right now as to, I feel like the argument is becoming, who do we pin it on instead of how do we stop it? Yeah, we need a scapegoat to pin it on instead of how do we stop it effectively. I don't like that.
I don't either.
We don't need, another finger pointing contest. And we need to figure out a realistic way to stop the violence that's happening.
Yeah, we all need to come together. I mean, Facebook is too huge right now. Even if they do everything in their power, they're not going to catch everything. That's why we all need to be vigilant and be careful about what you report. Don't report it if you just didn't like it or something. Only report it if it's truly dangerous, if it incites violence. Because we don't want the website's filters to be overloaded. We need to take responsibility. We all need to take responsibility in pinpointing the truly dangerous material and reporting it.
Yeah.
It's on all of us.
That is true.
And your mom made a great point. She said pressure on Walmart worked. I'm kind of proud of Walmart.
Yes, but I mean, in literature, obviously, we can't tell them not to, not to put out the books.
Mm-hmm. We can just ask them. We can petition them. Say, please don't do this.
Social pressure does work. Social pressure does work.
But it's one of those things like we're talking about. I mean, wary of silencing them too much because I personally would rather know who the racist bots are. They're publishing, we know who they are and we can watch them. But if we drive them underground, then there's no way to track them.
It could be, but again, social pressure does work. Yeah. And if they're silent for long enough, their words don't get out. Mm-hmm. And then the next generation grows up a little better.
Yeah, they're not influenced by it. It's interesting. There's an article from Walter Mosley that I posted, and he says something about this. I think it was in that article. He talked about a push for the Confederate flag to be banned.
Yes.
He demurred. People would expect him to be behind that because he's Black. He said, we still live in a free country. People can express themselves. And he said, also, I would rather see that flag on their porch so I know who I'm dealing with. And I get that. I kind of feel that way. As someone from the South, flag up. I know who you are. I can look at your front yard and know exactly who you are.
That is very true. We're considering moving to a new community, and we ruled out a few communities because we did see Confederate flags in their yards and on their vehicles.
There it goes.
And those places were just like, oh, we don't want to move there.
Yep, you know what you're dealing with first glance. There's no, figuring out the third time you go to dinner and they use the N word. You know right off the bat. Yeah. It's easier for that. I'm like, okay. And
but again, if that Confederate flag is in a book, it better have a use in the book.
It really does.
It better have a reason to be there instead of just emphasizing that I'm the author and I'm putting it in because I believe we should fly the Confederate flag.
Well, and if the author believes that, I'm not going to buy their books. I'm not going to read their books. I'm not going to support him. That's my choice.
But it could be a progressive author that just has a character who uses that flag for a reason. That's okay.
Yep, and it takes a good writer to make it clear that they're doing this, not the author. It's very hard to do. You need to make sure it's clear. Effort of a character. That's who he is.
Yes, Nana. Many racists don't read or write books.
That's quite true. So hopefully we don't have to worry about that too much. But you know what? You don't want to underestimate the racist. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them be racist too. Smart people can be misogynist. Smart people can be D-bags. Smart people can be a lot of things. We can't put smart people on a pedestal.
Understand each person as they come along.
Exactly. It's hard to know what you're dealing with at first glance, unless they put a Confederate flag in their front yard. Then you know. There are Oregon people doing with Confederate flags. You're part of the you weren't even part of that.
Didn't you even hear of Malheur? I mean, the whole Malheur thing.
What's that?
The guys who took over the Malheur National Reserve and
Oregon.
Yeah. Yes, we do. Yes, it's a small part, but yes, we do have racists and people who are not very nice here in Oregon.
Isn't it crazy?
Although generally we have come across nice people in Oregon. Really.
Yes.
But yes. Even I have come across people that I do not want to talk to ever again.
I'm like, what the hell? I mean, it's Oregon. They weren't even part of that. I mean, I'm being a little ignorant right now. Was Oregon even a state when the whole Civil War happened? I don't remember. I'm asking honestly, I don't remember. I don't think
Oregon
the
became a
West.
state in Oregon became a state in 1859, February 14th. Oh, look at that.
So,
True Valentine's Day,
uh,
1859.
so they had just become a state during the Civil War, but they were still be part of the Union. So I'm like, come on, or this, you're in the wrong place. Y'all's Union folk, but I don't want them to come down here either. We've got enough racists. Don't come down here.
Yep, that's true. Producer says Oregon was founded on white supremacy.
Oh,
It is an example of how you can turn things completely around.
turn it
Oregon is a
around.
very progressive state now.
Yes, and I hope the people who founded it are rolling in their graves, and I hope they have ants going all through their skeleton and stuff. Spirit is like vomiting because that's not cool. That's not the reason to found a state. That's just not cool at all. But Oregon has definitely changed it around.
It has, very much.
Y'all are more progressive than almost any state, I think.
Well, our voting doesn't count for much, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
we got the most weed.
That's something. Believe me. If I lived, okay, is it legal totally there now? I forget.
It is legal here. It is legal recreationally. So if you're 21 and you want a smoke or a gummy bear, come on down because we've got like 6 or 7 per town all the way from north to south.
What is so bad? I can't for the same reason you can't. I'm federally connected. I can't, but God, I want to so badly.
I'm not sure I want to. Well, there's another. How about drugs in literature?
One of those things, just like
Context.
Ask the character. Then have at it. I mean, it's just the writer needs to be good enough to himself, and even like I said, with this bio came in from the cold. Even it was a narrator talking some of the time who had those disparaging attitudes. The narrator was trying to blend in with the nihilistic feel of the book. Books I read from John le Carre didn't feel like that. It was just so nihilistic that even the author was adopting the narrator was adopting some of the attitudes. So you just have to think of the context of the book.
Yeah.
The movie Trainspotting, this isn't a literature. I don't know if it was ever a book, but it was a movie. The movie Trainspotting, drug infused. But that's what the movie is about. Yeah.
But again, it was a story about the people themselves. The drugs.
Yep, it was part of it.
The drugs were a part, but the drugs weren't, the main part of it. It was these people's struggles through their life.
Right.
And a lot of people connected with that struggle.
They were the young people of Scotland, and they were driven to a lot of this because of the poverty and the diminished chances for success. It's just a big part of it, and if you tried to sanitize that, it wouldn't mean anything.
No, exactly.
So
exactly. If you tried to sanitize it, so context.
Right. So you have to decide if it's worth slogging through the nasty situations and dialogue. Is the outcome worth it? Does it teach you something about this culture? Worth it? Then read it and write it. If it's not worth it, then don't.
Yeah, does it actually reach the point of the book itself? I mean, if it's fantasy fiction, does it take you out of where you are now and transport you somewhere else? If it
Do you
if it
feel
doesn't,
like
yeah, if it doesn't do that, then it
don't do it?
may as well just be a big pile of words.
Yeah, exactly. It needs to be effectual. If you're going to do it, you need to do it right, basically.
Yeah.
If you want to do it right, right. That's a song from the 80s. Do it with me.
Well,
Love that song.
if you do want to do it right, you have to go to
Mhm.
Humble Bundle.
Yes, and they've got so many good deals right now, and we have our own.
We actually have two. I picked one, and Lola picked one.
Yes, they have a science fiction bundle right now, and I did it. I bought it, $15. $1,000,000 books, not 1,000,000, but close. I got a ton of books.
Lots of
and you can support us.
Space operas. Space opera.
Yes. Some of them I've heard of, some I haven't.
By Bain Books. Actually, there are a lot there I haven't heard of.
I haven't either. I know I've heard of Bain Books. They're very popular.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't heard of Elizabeth Moon. I haven't heard of a lot of these people. Oh, Jerry Purnell. I met Jerry Purnell. I met him before I knew who he was. I was at they had a little science fiction convention here in Jacksonville, and I went and I was just hanging out with people. I was just talking to people, and this guy started talking about how he does these conventions all the time, and this one isn't like the others. And then he said, "Well, I've got to go meet my granddaughter," and said bye. And I was like, "Okay." Oh my God, that was Jerry Purnell, and I was like, "Who's that?" I don't know who you're talking about. Who's that? Oh, turns out he's been publishing since like the 60s. I don't know. Okay. So that was interesting. So he's on this list. So basically the deal is you can support us if you use our link, a whole bunch of books for a very price. And I picked the science fiction or the space opera and science fiction, Red Sonja, so you can get Red Sonja.
Yeah, I picked Red Sonja because I mean I mentioned Red Sonja in the podcast today, but she's a bit bigger than life. Even though her world is not necessarily this world, she walks and talks the attitude of the woman, the ferocious warrior woman I like to see inside myself.
I like that too. I already bought the science fiction one. I don't know if I'm gonna buy this, but it's worth it. $15, and you get like it looks like 25 or so. $18. You also get Frank Thorne's Red Sonja, which is an art edition.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous
I
art.
might get it anyways. You know what? I might. It's so worth it. $18 for all that. Even though I'm like bankrupting myself. I might do
bankrupt yourself.
You
have to be able to pay your internet bill so you can keep podcasting.
Oh, I'm exaggerating. But I'm right at the edge. I'm like, oh, well, the thing is, okay, I'm such a sucker for marketing that I'm a marketer's wet dream. I've said that before and I'll say it again. Credit card is offering cash back on PayPal purchases for this quarter. And so I specifically used my PayPal, and so I'm justifying it that way.
Oh.
But yeah.
Well, if you like Red Sonja, and you like good sci-fi, these two humble bundles are definitely going to be up your alley.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, definitely. But use our link because we get a little cash back on it.
And you will be able to see the link to our show notes And you can get the link on Twitter. You can also get it on MeWe. And where in the world where in this lovely internet universe can we find you, Lola?
Well, the best place is Twitter, because that's where I'm more often, at LolaLariscy. I have a website I haven't updated in a while. I need to update that, LolaLariscy.com. And that's, I'm on MeWe, but I don't do that as much as I should because I suck. And that's about it. What about you, Linda?
You can find me on Twitter as at Linda Tepler. That's Teppler. You can also find me on Facebook as Sorceress Zero. But I'm pretty picky about who I talk to on Facebook. But I'll talk to anybody on Twitter.
Yes. Well, with Twitter, you can only do either public or lockdown. You can't differentiate, so you don't really have a choice.
Yeah. But if people friend me, I will friend them right back. Absolutely.
I
And
won't say no with Twitter.
I do stream on Twitch.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. We're on Twitch. I have a
Right.
Twitch, but I don't check it that much.
You can see Beery at BeeryGE on Twitter or on Twitch, and go ahead and say hi and ask us questions. And you can even challenge our opinions of the world and our opinions of books and movies and TV shows, because we love to discuss stuff.
Right, and we won't hide. We're not, what do you call it? Snowflakes. We won't hide. We won't hide. We'll talk about it, and we'll tell you you're acting like a troll. And we'll say, stop it. That's not cool. But yeah, we'll talk about it.
We love all our fans.
Yeah, we do. Even the trolls.
And even people who don't drink beer, you don't drink beer, that's okay with us. We love you anyway.
We'll tell you what you're missing.
And we hope that you have enjoyed this podcast. And we hope that you have a really great beer, wine, lemonade. We hope you have a really great night. Thanks for joining.